So today we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the ear, the structures that make it up, and the process of hearing, just to give you more detail and more background on your child's hearing loss. And so we're going to go ahead and start with the structures that make up the ear. We start with the outer ear, then we go into the middle ear, then we go to the inner ear. And so the first one we're going to talk about, we're going to go from, surface to deeper. And so we'll start with the outer ear. That's going to include your earlobe. It's the most visible part of the ear, probably, that we all know. And then we're going to go into the ear canal, which is still part of this outer ear. Then we're going to go ahead and reach the tympanic membrane, which is just your eardrum in fancy words. And that's when we start moving into the middle ear. So that tympanic membrane starts the middle ear. Then behind that tympanic membrane, that eardrum, there are 3 little bones that act like a chain and work together to amplify sound and move sound through the middle ear canal and send it to the cochlea. The cochlea is just our big motherboard for sound, the way a computer has that big motherboard. The cochlea acts as our ear's motherboard, its big processing area, and then we finally send it to the nerves, the auditory nerves, that use what is being sent from the cochlea to send information out to the brain. And so the way that the sound process works is that sound is going to go ahead and move in waves through air, through the outer ear. And so the outer ear is acting as a funnel for these sound waves, moving the sound towards the middle ear. And then, since it's called the eardrum, that sound that is moving through air is beating like a drum. So the sound waves are hitting it, it's beating like a drum, and moving those 3 little bones that I mentioned that were behind the tympanic membrane. And then those little bones are amplifying the sound, moving it, and then it's hitting the cochlea nucleus. And that is starting to turn into a more water-like, more fluid wave of sound. And so the way you see water in the ocean, when you see waves, that's the way sound is moving in that motherboard cochlea. And so there are thousands of little hair cells in that cochlea, feeling those vibrations of water and trying to process pitches and sound, and those will eventually send electro sort of waves to the nerves that will eventually send information out to the brain. So with your child, we're either having a conductive hearing loss, which involves the outer ear, and so that may be a lack of development in the pinna, which is the earlobe. So we may be seeing that. We may be seeing the outer ear canal blocked off with tissue right there. We may be seeing chronic ear infection or just swimmer's ear that is affecting the tympanic membrane, or a hole in the tympanic membrane. All of these would be considered conductive hearing loss. And so that is just going to be damage to the outer ear, and the inner ear is still working fine. Or we'll go ahead and look at the inner ear. So then we have the inner ear problems that are called sensorineural hearing loss. And so that may be damage to the cochlea or the auditory nerves. And it can either be just the cochlea or just the auditory nerve, or a combination of the two. And that one is more towards the brain and problems with the inner ear. We can also see a combination of both outer and inner ear, conductive and sensorineural hearing loss. And so we want to work towards looking at seeing which one is which. And I got my information from page 29 and 30 from the Child with Hearing Loss Developing Listening and Talking textbook, and from the supplemental video sent out on Canvas.